Happy Monday, Flosstube. It is April 1st, brand new month, brand new shiny month. My name is Caroline. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for joining me today. Brand new month, April 1st. I'm positive I've probably told this story before, but every April 1st I'm reminded of this event that happened. You know, we used to play little minor April Fool's jokes on the kids when they were small, and this one year we thought we were really gonna, put in the effort and really play a really good prank on Sarah, my older daughter. I think she was 13. She was probably 13 at the time, maybe 14, somewhere in there. Definitely in high school, early high school. So we planned this out really carefully. And the first thing in the morning when we got up on April 1st, it was quite early in the morning, we went around the entire house and we reset all of the clocks that were in the house. And we reset them so that they were, what did we do? We set it from 6 o'clock. So all the clocks in the house, we reset them to 6 p.m. And then we put a pot of water on the stove and we started boiling some pasta. We started cooking some pasta. And then my husband went to the bottom of the stairs and shouted up the stairs, "Sarah, get out of bed. What have you done? You've been in bed all day. What are you doing? Why won't you get out of bed?" And the next thing we know, she comes thundering down the stairs, because we'd even snuck into her bedroom and changed the clock in her room. So she came thundering down the stairs, crying her eyes out, literally weeping, saying, "Why didn't you get me out of bed? I have so much homework to do." And it was a Sunday. The year that this happened, it was a Sunday night. So she thought it was Sunday night, 6 o'clock at night. "I have so much homework to do. Why didn't you get me out of bed?" And she's weeping. And John and I, it was in that moment where you're like, oh, this has gone horribly wrong. And so we had to calm her down and tell her that it was a really bad joke that we played on her. And boy, was she mad. She was so mad. We have not played a prank like that since. I'd like to think that John and I learned our lesson with that. So happy April Fool's Day if you are a fan of the prank, either playing the prank or having a prank played on you. But we kind of gave up that practice since we discovered that perhaps we weren't very good at doing it. So anyways, there you go. Happy April. Okay, so I'm going to start off today. I have got a bunch of stuff to share with you today. So hopefully my notes are complete and I don't forget anything. Yesterday was high tea, so there's a video up for yesterday for high tea where I shared the new giveaway for the month of March, and it's a good one this month. It's a Rosewood Manor pattern, Dreaming of Roses, and that you can find the information for that in the video from yesterday. But the giveaway for today, because it's Monday, and last week's giveaway, just a little reminder, this was a wedding pattern called Wedding Roses from the Heart, needle art by Wendy. And I had 53 comments on this chart giveaway from last week. And in fact, because I did it on Wednesday, I probably would have had a few more, but it was a shorter time period this week. But that's okay, because I have a new giveaway for today. There were 53 comments and the random number generator chose comment number 52. So congratulations, D. Abrams. Comment number 52. I've already messaged you on Facebook and you were the winner for this pattern. If you send me your address, I'll get it in the mail to you. Congratulations. So the giveaway post can be found on our Facebook group, Friday Off the Grid. So if you join us over there, you can, I always make the Because Monday giveaway, or any giveaway that happens on the Facebook group, I always mark it as an announcement so that it ends up at the top of the page. So hopefully anyone who's interested in throwing their name in the hat can find it easily. So the giveaway for this week is an ink circles pattern. These are so cute. This is the Arranging Cacti. So this is the pattern that I'm going to send out. And this is one that I got in the large lot of stuff from Kathy and Neil when they closed down. I've always been a huge fan of ink circles, and the arranging series, they're so cute. The kitchen tools one and the construction tools one, and I know someone recently has finished that one. Zerlina, was it you? Somebody on the Facebook group recently did the toolbox one, and I think the kitchen one as well. But these are so sweet. And so this is the pattern that I've got up for grabs for giveaway this week. So good luck. Okay, so I don't have any show and tell this week. I didn't finish anything. I put out 4 videos last week, so you all saw what I was working on. No big surprises there that I don't have any big finishes magically happen in the last couple of days. So I'm going to get right over into the in the mailbag section. Okay, so starting out, first of all, just a little comment about a random act of kindness that I received last week from Teal. I had mentioned that she had sent me a copy of the Long Dog Samplers Game of Swans, and I just wanted to make absolutely clear that Teal hadn't just sent me a copy of it. Like, she hadn't just sent me a like a photocopy or something like that. She purchased a PDF from the site, and then that link was sent to me. So it was a brand new pattern. I just want to make sure that's clear, because I think that we have to be clear about the fact that we pay our designers, and we pay for that work because they work hard, they deserve it, and we want them to keep designing lots of new stuff. So that's how they make their income. So again, Teal, thank you so very much. I may have looked at it once or twice in the past week. I might be starting it for Easter. I was thinking, instead of buying myself chocolate this year, that maybe that would be my Easter treat. So instead of chocolate, I might have a new start. So if there's anyone else out there who is interested in starting Game of Swans, send me a note, and maybe I can be pushed over the edge into starting that a little sooner than I was maybe thinking. We'll see. Okay, next up, I had an email from Gail. Gail Bello sent me a wonderful email with a really great question in it. So Gail is working on a canvas piece at the moment. I think it's from Nancy's Needle. It's one of the ones that I haven't done, but I'm pretty sure that's the designer. Correct me if I'm wrong, Gail. And Gail has been having difficulty dealing with the Krynic thread that's part of the pattern. A lot of the Nancy's Needle patterns have, not even the Nancy's Needle patterns, but we all know Krynic, right? Most of us have at some point or other worked with Krynic. And I have a canvas piece here. This is from my WIP pile of shame. I can't remember the last time I worked on this. My friend Tracy and I, you've met Tracy before. Tracy of the just recently in a Stitch With Me video, she showed off her beautiful lavender and lace that she's working on. And also, I think last year she shared the Star Wars piece that she'd stitched for her nephew. And we purchased these kits, well, we kitted them up together at the same time, these canvas pieces. And hers was finished long ago. Mine, not so much. This is all I have done on mine. And you can see the size of the canvas clearly. It's supposed to look like this. So this is Rainforest Crunch by, I have to get the name right, Needle Delights Originals, designed by Kathy Reese. She has some amazing canvas pieces. They're a little bit more involved, a little bit more complicated and intricate than the From Nancy's Needle patterns generally tend to be. So again, you're looking at more thread, more complicated, design elements and things like that. I mean, you can see, right? So you see that big center square? Yeah, that's all I have started. And I can't even remember when I started this. So this is next up after my Starry Skies canvas is done, because there's no excuse. All of the threads are in here. It needs to be stitched. It's beautiful. I love it. And frankly, I think it would look really nice hung next to my tiramisu, don't you? Similar color palette, you know, those warm, muted earth tones. It's beautiful. Anyways, the reason I brought this up was because it's got some Krynic. It's got some Krynic in it. I'm not a fan. And so Gail's question was, you know, how do you deal with Krynic? What makes it a little bit more manageable to deal with? And again, this is one of those times where I'm asking the question. I'm posing this question to Flosstube land in general, because I've read people will use Thread Heaven on it, or some kind of thread conditioner. I've never tried that. So my question is, if you use a thread conditioner with Krynic, does it really, like, do you use a really light touch and it just sort of smooths down those slippery fibers to make them more pliable or something? Because I look at the Krynic and I think about Thread Heaven, and I think about dragging it through the Thread Heaven, and I think, wouldn't it get, you know, really super coated with stuff and maybe not look, I'm sure those who do it would say, no, it's fine, it looks beautiful. But I want to know, you know, how much, for lack of a better phrase, how much gunk does it put into the thread itself? And, you know, can you see it after you've stitched with it? That's my first question. And maybe I'm way off base and no one has ever used Thread Heaven or a thread conditioner with Krynic, but I thought that I'd seen somewhere that people had. You know, the other option with Krynic is to not use it. Lots of people sub it out for Petite Treasure Braid. I know Ginger Gerald loathes Krynic, and whenever he can, he substitutes out for Petite Treasure Braid for his metallics. So that's another option. But, you know, you're 3/4 of the way finished your piece. So I hardly think at this particular moment in time you're going to swap out all of a sudden for a new thread. So, you know, really your question has to deal with finishing it up. So a thread conditioner is a possibility, but, you know, let's wait for some comments to come in on that, pros and cons. And also just sucking it up and getting it done. Really, that's what I think. I've done 2 pieces that I used Krynic in, and I didn't enjoy it, and I just got it done. You know, the Starry Skies, so I'll show you my whip now. This is the Starry Skies canvas piece from Nancy's Needle, and here's my progress that I did from the last time that I showed it to you. So last video I had up to about here done with a teeny little bit of the blue, and then so from then I completed the silver section here. I started a star, and then I counted out the rest of my indigo star points, and I've stitched those in, because sometimes just getting those counted and in makes the rest of the stitching really fast, because you don't have to check the pattern every single time for how many, you know, how many stitches you have to take. You can just kind of, you know, it's like coloring and filling in the blanks. So the metallic that's used in here, in this particular one, she called for a Rainbow Gallery metallic, which I have always found to be much more, well, not much more, it's slightly more pliable than a Krynic. The other metallic, there's two silver metallics in here. You can see this one here, that's the Rainbow Gallery. And then this one right here, you see that? That one there, that's a Karen Collection Snow. I can't remember the name of the color offhand, but that is a very pliable metallic and really, really nice to work with. So not every design is going to call for Krynic, and if you know that you really hate it, you know, perhaps your local needlework shop can help you find a substitution. Or you can, you know, if you don't have an LNS and you have to order online, perhaps you can ask if anyone else has ever converted it to something else for the particular type and color that you're looking for. Usually there's someone who can help. Okay, so thanks, Gail. Thanks for the question. I had a question, and I'm sorry I did not write down your name. I don't even think it was on last week's video. I can't remember which video it was on, but I wrote the question down to make sure I didn't forget. But obviously, clearly didn't write down enough information. Someone was asking if I would record a video showing my floor frame and how it works and how I use it and what I like about it. I've already done that in episode 55. So just the regular Flosstube episode 55, off the grid Needlearts from the stash pile, because there's the episode 55 off the grid Stitch with Me, which is going to be different than episode 55 Flosstube, which are these videos. In episode 55 of the Monday videos, I did a little segment within that video where I showed my Hearthside Craftworks Mark II floor frame, and I think it's I didn't go back and watch it again, but I know you can see if the screen capture is actually of my frame. So if you're having trouble finding it, that's what the screen cap looks like. It's a picture of a floor frame, part of it. So that's episode 55, and thanks for asking. Mary Beth wanted to know, when will we hear you play the flute? Because I spoke last week about how I used to play with, I played with a guitarist, I played in weddings. I have already played my flute for Flosstube in episode 12, regular Flosstube episode 12. The screen cap on that video is me holding my Prairie Schooler Santa in the Kay's Creation lap frame. That's the screen cap on that video, and within that video I played the flute. I played a little tune, and that's probably the only time you're ever going to get me to play my flute on Flosstube. So episode 12 if you're interested. And thanks for asking, Mary Beth. Okay, so next up, good old Kyle. And Kyle has helped me out with his last name, so I'm going to give it one last try. It's Reckemeyer. I think I got that this time. Kyle Reckemeyer. What I was doing before, I was putting a Y sound in between so that I was coming up with Reckemeyer. It's just Reckemeyer. So how did I do, Kyle? Did I get it that time? Hopefully. Whew. Okay. So Kyle's question of the week for Monday Flosstube. I hope whoever is on the receiving end of those sirens is okay. I never like hearing those during the day. We live on quite a major intersection, so it happens several times a day, and it's, anyways, I hope they're okay. Kyle's question for Monday Flosstube this week, he wants to know, are there any other crafts that you dabble in that you don't do as often or have tried to do or once did but don't do anymore? Kyle says that he used to draw a lot. So yeah, there are definitely a few crafts that I've tried and, you know, don't really attempt anymore. Crochet is the first one. I've tried crochet a few times because I've always wanted to crochet a granny square afghan or a ripple afghan. But I know now how to, I've knit a chevron pattern blanket, so that I can at least tick off my bucket list. So, but I would like to get better at crochet. And I know Dina Half Stitch Cross Stitch, if you've been watching her recent videos, she's learning how to crochet at the moment, and she's improving quite a bit. So well done, Dina. I should take a page out of your book. You know, but the thing is knitting is easy for me. all of my whips are knitting. And so it's, do I take the time to learn properly a new craft? I don't know. I'm not sure that I want to learn that badly. So crochet is the first one. Tatting. I have taken, I did a weekend. We used to, on our stitching retreat weekends, we had 2 a year. We still do them, but we do them differently now that Thread and I has closed down. But Kathy and Neil used to put out the 2 retreats a year. One of them was simply a stitching retreat, stitch and relax. The other one that happened in the fall, in October, was usually where we would take a class and learn how to do something different. And the one choice for this one weekend was preparing I think it was a Lynn Nicoletti pattern where you stitched a small design and you turned it into a gift card enclosure. That was kind of cool. But the other class that you could take that weekend was learning how to tat, and it was taught by one of the attendees of those retreats, and she's a lovely lady, and she still goes to the weekend retreats to this day. So fortunately she hasn't held it against me that I don't continue to tat. It is an extremely tiny, fiddly thing to do, and I have trouble with leaving in a mistake, and you shouldn't leave in a mistake when you're doing tatting. You should fix it. But I found it very difficult to fix my mistakes, and I'm somewhat of an impatient person, and I wanted to see a little bit faster progress. And when it takes you 4 hours to produce something that's this big, I'll show you next week actually. I still have the little tiny teeny thing that I tatted, but I was kind of rubbish at it, so I didn't stick with it. So tatting, that's another one. I have a floor loom. I tried weaving. I took a few classes on weaving. I learned how to weave on a 4-harness table loom. Fell in love with it. Finished my projects for the class. It was I think it was a 4-lesson segment that I did. Private lessons. It was wonderful. I was so enthusiastic about weaving that I bought myself a used floor frame that a woman in town was selling hers. And so I purchased this, and she had even warped it with, she was ready to go, but then she'd bought a new loom and she'd lost interest in weaving on this particular floor model. So I bought it. I was so enthusiastic. I was going to weave everything. I was going to make fabric and turn them into bags, and I was going to make tablecloths and placemats and afghans and, you name it. Yeah. I have never used it. It's become a bit of a joke in my house with my family. Nicholas has hurt his foot on it when he took a flying leap off of the step into the living room, and he was over enthusiastic about getting where he was going, and he cracked the side of his ankle on it, and so he's not fond of the loom. My husband's not, he's very patient, but he did suggest that maybe we should consider selling the loom. I've had it for 3 years, and I've never done anything on it. And part of the problem is it was my own fault, because see, there's more now. It's an 8-harness loom instead of a 4-harness, which is what I learned on. So already it's more complicated than what I only took 4 lessons on. And she had warped it with a pattern. She'd warped it with pattern threads in the harnesses, all 8 of them. And they're attached to foot pedals, and I don't have the first clue what's going on. It's a tricky pattern, and I've had 4 lessons. What was I thinking? It's like everything else that I do. If it's the bigger the better, right? If I want to do a stitch like this, well, I might as well do a stitch like this, because that's just better, right? For me, it's like I just want, what can I say? So yeah, weaving. So we've got crochet, we've got tatting, we've got weaving. The last thing is rug hooking. rug hooking, and I was thinking about this morning because Kyle made me actually, think about my answer here, and it brought back some really, really fond memories of, this has got to be, now that I think about it, one of the first sort of really real crafty things that I ever did. And it wasn't even mine. My best friend from childhood, her name was Erica, and she lived down the road, and we met in swim classes in the summer before school, because my family moved to a new town and in the summer, and I didn't know anybody, so my parents put me in swimming lessons, and Erica and I were the only two girls in this swimming class. And at the time, when you would learn your swim safety and you had to do artificial respiration, you had to pick a buddy, and you had to do AR with a buddy in swim class. And well, we were the only two girls, and there was a whole bunch of really yucky boys. So we chose each other as partners, and you know what? We became fast and furious friends. Just friends for life. We're still friends. And Erica had a rug hooking kit. So I'm not talking about like traditional style rug hooking that you would find in like on the east coast of Canada, where it's, and those who do rug hooking know what I'm talking about, where you use, the wool and you use a special tool. This was a latch hook rug hook. So you put the latch on, and I can still feel the motion of it. You put the hook in, and there's the pre-cut lengths of wool. So you would choose the color, you put the length of wool in, close the thing, pull it through, do your little, special maneuver, and lo and behold, you could, you'd see the picture come to life with color and wool. And every time I went over to Erica's house, I would beg her to take that kit out so that I could work on it. And we would spend hours happily working on that thing. And do you know that I don't think, when I wasn't there, I don't think she ever touched it. It was me that always wanted to play with it and put some more color in it. So I think that right there, that was kind of the die was cast, as it were. And a lifetime love of crafting was born with that rug hooking kit. So there you go. Crochet, tatting, weaving, and latch rug hooking. Great question, Kyle. Thank you so much. Okay, next up, we had a question from Alyssa, my friend here in town, who is working on a cross stitch pattern that's on a dark fabric, and she was looking for some tricks and tips as to how to make stitching on that a little more easy, a little more enjoyable. And I suggested, actually, did we already talk about this last week? Or I think, yes, we did, because I posed the question to you. So my advice was to put something light colored under your stitching, either a towel or a piece of white paper, something like that, that's underneath where you're stitching. And then having really, really, really good lighting above you, so that you're well lit, well magnified if you need it, and then having something light underneath it that helps you see the holes. We had a suggestion, same suggestion from two viewers, Seaweed Otter and Fernie. Both suggested using a light source underneath as well. And so Seaweed Otter suggested an actual light box, and she says you can purchase them on Amazon, that they're quite inexpensive. And that reminded me, isn't that what Stitcherista uses on her diamond painting? Is that right? Ginger Gerald, do you use a light box underneath? Like, I've only, because I don't diamond paint, I've only really paid attention to, first of all, the chatter, just listening to someone crafting, but also I've only ever watched the act of putting the diamonds on. I didn't really take too careful note of the accoutrements that were surrounding said diamond painting. So are you using a light box? If you are, first of all, that's pretty cool. But second of all, that would actually work really well to have that set up and then be stitching over top of that. It would really help you see those holes well. Just a little side note to Fernie, who was one of the commenters suggesting that. She is a viewer who came over to my channel here from watching the Fiber Friends podcast. She's mostly a knitter. Well, she is a knitter, and she says that coming over here and watching these videos has kind of rekindled an interest, ignited a spark that she might just consider digging out some very old cross-stitch whips that she's had hanging around for a long time. And maybe she'll start stitching again. So a big old bit of encouragement for Fernie. I really hope that you pull it back out and you rediscover the joy that's just waiting for you. You just have to, needle and thread. That's all it is. It doesn't take much. It's lots of fun. No. Oh, one more comment about dark fabric. From Patsy. Patsy, and this was actually really interesting because I hadn't really thought about this, but again, it's something to try. Patsy says that when she stitches on a dark fabric, she actually has an easier time working on it at night, more so than during the day. So, something to try. Let's face it, we've all, well, not all of us, but lots of us who have worked on dark fabric, we all know that it's a bit of a bugaboo. Kind of like Krynic. It's just one of those things. So, any more tips and tricks? Always welcome. Okay, moving on to Robyn from Thimble and Twine. Robyn has a lovely Flosstube channel. I just subscribed to her this morning, and I've started with episode 1 because I was drawn to the description in her description box about Piads, Piads. So Robyn has she has given that acronym to the projects in her drawer that are completely kitted up and ready to go, but that are just sitting in the drawer waiting to go. So I thought that was kind of fun. So I've started with her episode 1 this morning, and as I'm sewing later today, I will probably just visit with her a bit more. So Thimble and Twine on YouTube. And Robyn she had a question about my socks. So you may remember I showed you my finished sock last week. This wooden form that it's on is called a sock blocker. And these were, well, I'm going to say they were a gift from my friend Adrienne, but I kind of took them on her. And then she's because they were a bit too big for her. She's got very small feet. So I do not have such dainty and ladylike feet. So these larger sock blockers are perfect for me. But I digress. Robyn was admiring, first of all, the yarn, because she says that yellow and gray are her jam. So she was admiring the sock, but then her question was, do I wear them? Because she said she'd love to learn to knit socks or knit socks, but she's afraid that she would never wear them because she would ruin them. And let me tell you, wearing a pair of hand knit socks, if you're into that, it is one of the nicest feelings on your feet, and I do wear them. I haven't knit many pairs of socks. I'm a fairly new sock knitter, but I can tell you this, they're wonderful to wear. Wonderful to wear, and they wash up beautifully. There's just a couple of things that you have to keep in mind. You can buy a superwash yarn. So usually when I'm making socks, I look for a yarn that has a little bit of nylon content in it. So usually my sock yarn, most of my sock yarn here is an 80% merino wool with 20% nylon, and it's usually a superwash. I have one skein somewhere in there, and I know exactly which one it is because I'm kind of excited to knit them into socks. But it's BFL wool, which is blue-faced Leicester, which is a very sturdy wool. So if you don't really like scratchy wool or wool that feels you don't want to wear it against your neck, BFL is kind of a little bit more of a rustic yarn. That does not have, or does it have not? That does have nylon in it. Yes, that one also has nylon in it. You want to look for a sock yarn that has nylon in it because the sock itself will hold up better. Fingering weight yarn that doesn't have nylon in it and you knit them into socks, you're going to notice that the heel and probably the ball of the foot or the toe, it's going to wear out a lot more quickly than if the yarn has nylon content in it. Now, you can actually purchase nylon separately. So if you have a skein of yarn, you can add, you can knit double, right? With a strand of nylon and a strand of wool. So you can do that. I just want one thing. So I just have, that's why I buy the yarn with the nylon already in it. If it's a superwash, some people will still say you shouldn't put it in the washing machine, but I do. I wash my socks, excuse me, in a mesh lingerie bag in the wash with, with the rest of the laundry, but I don't put them in the dryer. Once they've been washed, and I have a front end loader, so it's maybe a little bit more gentle on clothes, I'm not sure. But in the mesh lingerie bag with the rest of the laundry, and then I hang them to dry after. If it's not a superwash yarn, I would not do that. I would definitely only wash them by hand. And you can buy special, wool wash soaps or those soaps that are no rinse. There's a few different brands in Canada. I know Soak makes one. Soak also makes a really nice hand lotion that you can, as a stitcher, you can use. It soaks in quite well. Again, I found it's kind of like stitcher's lotion for me. It's not quite enough moisturizer, but as a general, after I've washed my hands, that kind of moisturizer, it's nice for that. Okay, so yes, long way to say I love wearing hand knit socks, and I encourage you fully to go for it, Robyn. And thanks for the Flosstube episodes that I'm going to enjoy later today. Okay, Becky wanted to know whether I'd ever had a large cross stitch piece going and I realized that it was way off and I tossed it out of frustration. So Becky, I'm wondering if you're asking me this for any particular reason. Is there something that you have that you're considering just getting rid of? Yeah. It was a big one. It was called His Eye is on the Sparrow by Hearthside Craftworks, and I stitched it, well, I started stitching it the wrong orientation. So I was not going to have the width needed for the project. It was on 40 count, and I had stitched this massive flower. And I have told this before, so I'll be brief. Yeah, I didn't toss it because that's linen, and it's a beautiful piece of linen. I will stitch something else on it, but it's the only piece I've ever I can't do it again. I can't do it again. So I will probably at some point, when I'm ready to get rid of it, I will probably give that pattern away. But you know what? I made a few new friends out of it because there was a stitch along that happened on Instagram, and I met, I know Ada was doing it, Ada in France, and Susan, Golden Stitcher. So, you can't go wrong when you meet stitchy friends out of a stitch along. So something good came out of something not so nice. So yeah, His Eye is on the Sparrow. Didn't finish that, and I'll never finish it. Last week I talked about Bob out in Nova Scotia, who had sent me a random act of kindness with some Pass the Stash and some lovely tea. And he got me because he messaged me afterwards and he said, I knew who had recommended the tea. So he was being funny, and it just went whoop right over my head. So thanks, Bob. You got me. I have a message to Bob from Cindy. Cindy left me a comment for Bob, and so I wanted to make sure that that he heard this. Cindy says that there's a Facebook group for Nova Scotia Stitchers, and if you're near Dartmouth, they'd love to have you come out and join them for their stitching get-togethers. So Facebook, I think is the Facebook group called NS Stitchers, or is there another name for the Facebook group? Cindy, maybe you could leave me another comment below, just in case if Bob is interested or, lives close to you, and maybe you guys can meet up. Let's see. Oh, I have now finished one of my pages. Okay, I'm almost done. Look at that. And we're at 40 minutes already. Whew. Holy Toledo. Okay. So I've just got one last one last question here, and it's from Penny. Penny's starting out learning how to use her sewing machine, and she's having trouble holding the fabric straight. So I'm assuming sewing a straight line and not having the fabric go wibbly wobbly and loosey goosey. And she wants to know if I have any tips or tricks to work on holding that fabric straight. Just two things. The first one is go slow. If you can manipulate the speed on your machine, slow it right down so that it's, you know, like turtle pace, the slowest it can possibly go. Even if you've got your foot pedal to the metal, just slow it right down so that you can really take your time and focus on what you're doing. The second thing is practice. It's as simple as that. When you're brand new at something, this applies to anything. You know, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. You just have to practice, and you just have to try and find a little bit of joy in the practicing. Find an old, not a t-shirt, but like, you know, a shirt, an Oxford shirt or something like that that is ready for the rag bag. Cut it up and practice, you know, sewing. Now make sure that you've got, you know, some straight lines. You're going to want to cut your fabric so that you can, you know, if you can cut, oh, let me find some scraps. Okay, so just take a couple of scraps. Here, I've got some white. So let's sew this. Let's say this is in two pieces. Let's pretend. Make sure the lines are, make sure your fabric is straight. Line up the edges. Okay, put that into your machine, feed it through, practice, and then move it over 1/2 inch and sew another line. Move it over 1/2 inch, sew another line, and then if you want, practice unpicking what you sewed, because trust me, you're going to want to make friends with your seam ripper. I use my seam ripper all the time. It is, it's a handy tool. Rip out those seams, sew it back together again. It's just thread, it's just fabric, you know, it's a ton of fun, and it's well worth learning how to do if you really, really want to learn how to do it better. It's just practice, and then practice some more. That's all it is. It really is. So good luck. Good luck. Okay, I'm going to take a little break, and I'm going to go heat up my tea, and I'm just going to pop a little ad in right here from YouTube. Thank you so much, and I will be right back with my whips. Okay, so I already shared with you one of the whips that I put some progress in, my Starry Skies. I'll show it again just because I did some work on it. So this one is probably, you know, I was really hoping for a finish this month. It just didn't happen. You know, that's okay. I'm sure it will come out again at some point in the next few months so that I can finish it. Because now that I've pulled out my Rainforest Crunch, the other canvas piece, now I'm itching to get to this. So when you only want to concentrate on 3 or 4 projects a month and you have a little few too many whips, and I'm talking about starting another one at Easter, it's okay. It's all good. It's all good. No complaints. So the next one, only a little bit of progress on this one since you last saw it because, well, I didn't get a lot of work done on it. Tiramisu, Glendon Place. And I am stitching this on the, it's 28 count even weave from Picture This Plus in the sand colorway with the called for threads. So it's not the called for colorway fabric, it's a different one. It's a little less orange than the called for one. And so since the last video, I don't think I'd completed this, or had I? Or maybe it was this one. I don't remember. But I've done some more of the lace work there, and I've completed a bit more of my circle. That's about it, really. So this one is going back on my floor frame so that I can make sure that I get stitching done on it every day, because that is the only way I even have a chance to complete the stitching on this by the time Gerald is done Henry. And I really would like to actually accomplish that. Okay, so next up, the other thing that I worked on was the piece that I was working on for the Stitch With Me video on Friday. This is Little House Needleworks ABC sampler houses. Sometimes you just want to stitch a house. And I finished building the house. Sorry, my linen is a little wrinkled. I mean, crooked. You know what I mean. Wrinkled and crooked. I built my house and I'm installing the windows. I put the roof on last night and the little chimney bits. I also gave the shepherdess some hair and some shoes, but she still doesn't have a face or hands. So it's coming along. I shared a photo of what I was doing on the Facebook group last night, and I was, just starting to build the roof, and somebody commented, in fact, it might have even have been Gail of the Kreinik question. Gail said, I noticed that she still doesn't have a head. Because she didn't have a head on Friday's video, and she still doesn't have a head. So I gave her some hair, because the hair is the same color as the door and the windows. Hickory sticks, Crescent Colors. Is it Crescent Colors or Classic Colorworks? Because it changed. It's Classic Colorworks. It used to be Crescent Colors. Classic Colorworks hickory sticks. That's the sort of charcoaly color that's there. It's all washed out. It's so light in here. It's hard to see the colors properly. So anyways, I will carry on with this until this little block is complete this month. There's not a lot more stitching in it. Frankly, the house is the biggest part. But then all of those other little bits and pieces, right? All the little color changes that make it so interesting to look at are a little bit fiddly. It always takes me longer than I think it is. Story of my life, right? Story of my life. Oh, it'll just take me an hour. 5 hours later. So I'm really pleased with the progress that I put into that this weekend. And it was a really fun stitch. It was nice to do something a little different. I was ready to change out my projects. I was ready to get stuck into some new whips. So the other 2 whips that I'm adding this month that I spoke about in my video yesterday for high tea, one of them is the Landmark Tapestry Savon pattern, which is a geometric design that I have stitched 5 of the 10 that I have. There are 12 in the set, and they are so much fun, and when you get into a rhythm, you don't really have to look at the pattern. You just kind of know where the design goes, because it's geometric and everything is the same. You just have to fill it in. A lot of 310. So that cone of 310 that I bought 10 years ago is, I haven't even made a dent in it, but sure comes in handy when you need it. Let's see, what else? Oh, the other one was the Lizzie Kate Spirit of Christmas. I think that's what it's called. It was the mystery Christmas stitch along from a few years back now, and lots of people have stitched it. It's a lovely design. It's technically pretty much a new start for me, because I only had about 30 stitches in the whole thing to begin with. But I have, of course, I just recorded that yesterday. I haven't put a single stitch in either of those 2 pieces yet. So I should have an update for you next Monday. So what would you rather see me stitch on Friday? Savon or the Lizzie Kate? Which one? Savon or Lizzie Kate? I'm leaning towards Savon because it's an easy stitch to work on while I chat, but perhaps most of you would rather see a more picturesque picture working on. So I'll take my cue from you guys. What would you like to see me stitch? And I'll count them up and I'll work on whichever one gets the most asks for. So that'll be fun. I've never done that before. Okay, I actually bought something this week for my cross stitch stash. I couldn't help myself. I bought a pattern from Luminous Fiber Arts. This is our very own Misty Purcell. I'm sure you probably have heard of her. She does lovely Flosstube videos, and she dyes fabric and is a designer as well. So she came out with a new pattern, I believe just last week, and I saw it on Instagram. It popped up in my Instagram feed, and I have to say that I immediately went over to her Etsy shop and I purchased the PDF because I couldn't resist. So this is her Sew Tweet pattern. So I just purchased the PDF, and it is so easy, isn't it? It's easy as pie to purchase these from our designers from their online shops as a PDF. Printed it out right away, easy peasy, and isn't it sweet? I love it. So I couldn't resist. So Misty, a beautiful job, wonderful, wonderful work, and I'm looking forward to one day adding this to my whip pile, but I had to have it. So that's my big haul for the week. That's it, a pattern. But you know, I have enough stash. I don't really need to add more, but the occasional little treat and addition, especially from a member of our community, is always a welcome addition to the stash pile. Okay, I do not have a shop update this week because I am going to be working really hard this week on getting out all of the orders that came in last week. So thank you so much to everyone who purchased a bag in the last shop update. I'm working hard to get everything out as quickly as I can. So that's what I'm off to do now. I'm going to get this video going, editing, importing, exporting, all that malarkey that has to go on in order to put it together so that I can get it up on YouTube and have a visit with you for Monday Flosstube. I hope you have a great week. I'll see you on Friday. Let me know which piece you'd like me to work on, and so that we can sit and have a chat together on Friday. I mentioned on the Friday video that John and Sarah are going away this coming weekend. They're going to visit a second possible university that she is interested in attending, and so they're going to do a university tour this weekend. And so Nicholas, he's been invited to go along, but it's quite a long drive, and he's not sure that he really wants to go badly enough in order to visit the campus. I mean, he likes doing things like that. It's always my husband is a fun guy, so they always have a lot of fun. But he's not sure that he wants to hang out in the car for that long, so he may stay home with me this weekend. I have a fair bit of work to do and that kind of stuff. We are recording a Fiber Friends podcast on Friday, and so Friday night I am going to be all, you know, once Nicholas is tucked up into bed, I'm going to get my dog and my coffee, and I'm going to sit in the living room and I'm going to stitch. And I'm going to stay up disgustingly late, and I can't wait. So it's going to be fun. I hope you have a great week. I'll see you on Friday for Friday Off the Grid, and happy stitching. Have a great week.